Now, I'm pretty sure you could guess from the number of videos I made pre the game's release and post the game's release, but this girl right here talking to you across the screen is a big fan of Dragon Age, and I enjoyed Dragon Age the Veilguard. Did I think it was better than the other iterations in the series? Not really. I appreciate each of the Dragon Age games for what they sought to do, and the same applies to Veilguard. The only thing, however, is that Dragon Age the Veilguard did not do well. Matter of fact, the numbers didn't impress EA enough, which led to a large chunk of the team getting gutted. A large number of the devs who worked on Veilguard are gone. Now, if you're one of the anti woke mob about to come laughing in my comments, save your breath and the time you would have used to write your comments. I am very well aware that I'm not going to be able to convince you that the everything is woke and is destroying the things we love rhetoric that you all and your overlords have been parroting to a sickening degree for the last couple of years is trash. I know I can't convince you of that. But neither are you going to convince me that I should come over to your side of the divide or that my time spent loving the game and all the things you all consider too woke was a waste of my time. So, like I said, spare me the talk and save your breath. What I'm going to talk about instead is a threat that's been a part of my fandom experience ever since I got into it and found shows and movie franchises and video games and books and even anime slash manga that I've loved. The existential dread that something you enjoyed that has been a core part of you, hell, a core part of your identity will eventually be cancelled due to some financial constraints or the other because capitalism will always suck. Now, when I use cancelled or cancellations in this video, I'm not referring to someone saying something or doing something foul that justly has people deciding that they aren't going to support said person or enterprise with their money anymore. No, the cancellation I'm referring to are the ones that tied to stories that fans are actively following, theorizing about, and excited to see what's next or what could be done better in the next installment, only to be met with the dreaded news, sorry, you're not getting anything more. It's been cancelled. Usually there's the silent move on that is often attached to it. Because, of course, the expectation is that we move on to something else, something new. And I don't know about whoever is watching this, but often when I'm met with that response, which of course studios, networks, and corporations aren't going to say it outright, the expectation is that as audiences, time is pretty limited for us and we have to go get our minds and attention on something else if what we liked or enjoyed didn't quite work out the way we wanted it to. There's never any room to grieve, to be sad about what was, what we had hoped for and anticipated. Not a lot of shows, for example, get it right on the first season. Like, sure, there are some pretty strong contenders for shows that hook you the minute they dropped. For example, Shonda's trio of Grey's Anatomy, How to Get Away with Murder, and Scandal, for example. Those were solid first seasons that established the characters, the stakes, the ongoing plot, and gave us an idea of what the world and the shows would look like, helping us come to the realization of whether or not these are shows that were worth our time. Now, did they maintain that energy all the way through? Not all of them, but it's a solid showing. However, not all shows get to be like that. Some of them are slow and steady and build up gradually. For example, Misfits. Some people really liked season 1. I had to keep going until season 2, and by then I was hooked. Season 4, things started going downhill, of course. But hey, the first 3 seasons of that show were pretty solid television for me. And that's the thing. Some pieces of media need the time to find their feet, to slowly make their way into the hearts of the audience. Some of them need that time to grow to find their niche. And when they do, as audiences, we take our time to reward them for that. Unfortunately, the new industry model, which expects a large number of viewers for just released shows and also expects them to trend in the millions of conversation points, affects the chances of these shows gaining that footing. And so when the audience finally finds this niche show that they can lose themselves in and are excited to see what's going to come next, they are hit with the dreaded words, cancelled. I have a lot of friends, for example, who didn't get the chance to watch The Acolyte when it aired. They got into the show after it was finished, only to be met with the news that Disney wasn't going to renew the show. That was heartbreaking. Dead Boy Detectives had a phenomenal first season, but didn't get the arbitrary high numbers that Netflix wanted and was axed the minute the season ended. Fuck Neil Gaiman though, just saying. And sure, First Kill was cliche and cheesy and made my head hurt in a lot of the scenes because what on earth? But I will still stand firmly in the camp that it's cheesy, but I kind of enjoyed it. And I would have loved to see more just to see where the characters could have been taken. However, we're never going to get that because cancelled. Netflix is particularly guilty of that, by the way. I'm still miffed that we only got one season of Everything Sucks. I will plug in that show every damn chance I get because it owns my little heart and is just absolutely delightful and nostalgic. And I'm pissed that it was never given the chance. Of course, it's not just Netflix that's guilty of this, however. Prime Video never renewed A League of Their Own. Fox had the audacity, the effrontery, the unmitigated gall to cancel Almost Human after just one season. I mean, the potential. So much wasted potential. And every time I think of Sci-Fi's Deadly Class, I release a little sob. Because those kids killed it. Lana and Benjamin and Luke, we had Benedict Wong give us prime entertainment. Like, don't get me wrong, the show wasn't that good, but it was entertaining. And I really do miss the times when we're just allowed shows to be what they want to be and entertain the hell out of their audience. I miss that. I miss that a lot. And even with shows that didn't get cancelled after the first season, some of them are still cancelled at the worst of times. For example, was I enjoying Glow and the view it gave us into female wrestling and all that it entailed? Yes. As someone who grew up watching wrestling shows, I loved it. And because of COVID restrictions, the show was cancelled. We didn't even get the chance to bid farewell to these characters. Nor did the studio take the time to come to somehow delay its release and then bring it back post-pandemic. Nope. 3 seasons in and at the height of the story, caught without a care. That sucks. And I guess the reason why I've started panicking again about the state of things is because I didn't get into Severance until a couple of weeks ago. Like I mentioned in Monday's video, which if you haven't watched it yet, I talked about workplace resentment and why it might seem like your boss doesn't like you. But in that video, I mentioned that I finally got around to watching Severance thanks to the recommendation of one of my lovely patrons. And all I could think of as I watched the show was to hope and pray that the writers get to finish the story of Severance, that it's renewed for the number of seasons it needs for the story to be told in its complete form. Because if that show is cancelled prior to that, I am going to lose my shit. Thankfully, Apple did give an immediate confirmation that Severance has been renewed for its 3rd season. Thank the gods. Let's hope it continues this way until the story is done. But in addition to my fear and panic about Severance not being able to complete the story it has to say, I'm also driven by my worries about Dragon Age. Like I said at the start of this video, Dragon Age The Veil Guard released to not quite the reception EA hoped for. They didn't hit the financial targets and goals, and the team was largely gutted. And now there's that pall that hangs over the entire franchise, the fear that Dragon Age is over and done with, and that we are not going to get another reiteration of the games, or that even if we do, it might not be the Dragon Age that we know and love because the team would be almost entirely new. So much knowledge and experience gone. What do you do when the video game franchise with overarching arcs and storyline does not get the chance to see it through? How do you cope? That's what drove the basis of this video. Because, like I stated earlier, I have been a part of fandom for a while, for about 2 decades now, if I'm keeping count. And the thing that I keep having to remind myself is that these stories, these worlds, they don't really end because whoever is telling them was forced away. As viewers, as consumers, as players, we get to keep that light going. We get the chance to make art, whether it's fanfic or fan art or videos or analysis. We can keep going for as long as we can, building communities around these stories that we enjoyed. And yes, I am aware that as these shows are forgotten, as people move on from these stories, the community dwindles in size as well. But hey, even if it does, even if it comes down to only, say, 1,000 people, 100, or even 10, that's 9 more people who get to talk with you about those stories, this world that you love. And I think that's pretty cool. Every time I stumble upon someone making Shadowhunters content, for example, I smile. That there is still someone from the fandom who's keeping that light burning. I interact with them to let them know that I see you. I appreciate what you're doing and that I'm here with you. Thank you for reminding me of the glory days. I do the same when I stumble upon an old Firefly video as well. Like, sure, the vid maker uploaded it, 6, 7 years ago? But I hope that when their inbox dings with my comment on their video, it makes them smile. And they flash back to how we all collectively had such a huge, humongous crush on Zoe back in the day. Because Gina Torres has always been hot. Or maybe instead you get to go out and find other stories, other shows, other movies, other games that can help to fill that void a bit. New worlds for you to get lost in and be a fan of all over again. And sure, it might not be quite like what you've lost, but it's enough to keep you going, to keep loving art and those who make it, to keep giving the world a chance to surprise you. And isn't that at its core a pretty wonderful thing? Or maybe this is me just bracing myself for the possibility, the high probability, that we might not actually see the end of A Song of Ice and Fire, even after Winds of Winter possibly releases. Just because I don't get to see where all the characters end up doesn't mean I'm going to regret the almost 15 years I've invested into the story. I mean, for me, it's time well spent. And whether I get to love the book, the game, the show, or the movie for a year or 10 years, I will still get the chance to think it was worth it. And it's something I would still repeat if given another chance. That is how I deal with life as a fan, as an art lover, as a story fanatic, in the midst of cancellations. What about you? Let me know in the comments. Like this video if you enjoyed it, share it if you want to, support me on Patreon if you can. And until tomorrow's video, do remember, obsessing over the things you love? Perfectly valid coping mechanism.